Thomas Cullen, who is editor of Transport Intelligence News Briefs. We have next to him Robert Minton-Taylor, who is an award-winning independent PR and senior lecturer at Leeds Metropolitan University, followed by Kizzy Nkwocha, who everyone who sees IFW online knows of Kizzy's Friday Focus and all his other editorials, followed by Emma Murray, who probably needs no introduction. Emma's been all over the media. She's well known. She's been the editor. She's been publishing. She's PR specialist. She knows it all. And Emma is also now, of course, with Meantime Communications.
I think it's very important not to get carried away with all this stuff. If you've ever worked in the media, you'd realise that there's a huge amount of hype out there, particularly by all of these social media and PR type people, and its real relevance to grown-ups is probably not as great as people imply. The necessity of being on Facebook has really so far eluded me for most grown-ups. I mean, I look at this thing, but it is dominated by children and adolescents. That's really what it was pitched at. So I think we shouldn't get too carried away with so much of this. Certainly there are things such as LinkedIn and so forth, which are a bit more grown up. But with that, you have what you're saying is, how do you actually take out the quality information from that and discard the rubbish? And to be honest with you, I think at present we're in a period of acute instability in the publishing sector. We're seeing hard copy disappear really to nothing, and it will disappear. And people are in the process of innovating new platforms. And I have to say, I don't want to bang our drum too hard, but things like Transport Intelligence, but there are many others. If you look at Reed Elsevier, its main business is no longer Reed Business Information, it's LexisNexis. So that's the sort of world we're moving into, and that's, if you want to communicate to the world, you have to recognise that it's changed, and it's no longer newspapers and magazines. It's a web presence which is more fragmented, and whose information requirements are often dramatically different to those that went previously. What I constantly get is information which is absolutely useless to me. Many years ago, I would get stuff that was it wasn't just useless, it was hilarious how bad it was. There is no substitute for going out and doing the legwork and talking to people. That's still the case. There's no substitute for face-to-face contact. And I don't really see the so far Facebook changing that.
Andrew, could I just come in at this point? Sure. Because there are points of that I disagree with fundamentally. I actually edit a magazine at the moment which is only 3 years old, and it's a big, fat, 140-page, very successful magazine which goes against everything that you might have heard about print publishing closing down. What I would say is that I think what we're talking about here is a community, in this instance the freight community or the logistics community, and our publications, whether they're online or whether they're paper publications, are serving that community. And the big question is, how can we, as the people providing that information, make that useful to you and help you to understand how to harness it? But I also think, and this is the big thing with social media, is that it's a two-way conversation. You're used to us pumping information out to you. We're used to doing that as well. Social media is about a two-way conversation, and that's the other new thing that we need to harness.
Well,
Kizzy, I don't know what you think about that.
That's the point I was going to make later on, that the dynamics of journalism has changed irrevocably. 10 years ago, my job as an editor was about pushing information out to a selected target audience, whether that was with a consumer newspaper, a B2B title. We knew who we were talking to, and we were sending information out to them on a regular basis. Everything's changed now. The rules have changed, the dynamics have changed. Now, my job isn't to push information out, it's to pull information from this target audience. It's to get opinions, reviews, recommendations from this audience, from this community. When I started at IFW just over a year ago, I changed my job title myself from being an editor to being an editor stroke community manager, because that's what every journalist has to be in this day and age. You have to be able to create an interactive, dynamic online community and do your best to manage that community.
Right. And Robert, actually, I mean, it's an important point about the communities and as Emma said, the two-way street. And one wonders whether the freight industry is actually grasping these changes and utilising the media effectively for its own PR purposes and marketing purposes, and just trying to tell people what they're doing.
I think we're very fortunate in this industry to have some of the world's best journalists. I've worked across many sectors: travel, food, healthcare, hotels, etc. And there are some really excellent publications both online and in print. And journalists get their sources from either face-to-face or web sources. And I was interested just to look at my laptop this morning and look at some of the exhibitors here on the About Us page. And very few of them have any details about who, why, what, where, when, and about your company, or indeed where your press contacts are. I came here about an hour before this seminar, and I didn't find a single press kit on anybody's stand. I actually went onto a couple of stands and asked people, could they tell me about their company? I posed as a journalist, and it looked like some people had been caught with the headlights in their eyes. So all I would say to you is you're missing a trick, really. You know, if I was serving one of you here, I'd be milking this show. I'd be going around visiting journalists, not just the journalists who've got stands here, the publications, but also the many journalists who are visiting this show to gather news and information. You're probably going to ask me, well, what the heck is news? Well, I think you've got to have something to say. I put yourself in your competitor's shoes. Ask yourself what you would want to read about your competitor, and think about what have you got to say that would be of interest to journalists. To whom do you want to say it? Izzy said about targeting, but I think it's desperately important in public relations to target your information. Also, get to know the journalists. They don't wear pointed hats. They're not devils. I mean, the company I worked for many years very successfully used YouTube for short videos, 30 seconds, no longer, about special cargo shipments they shipped, just to explain to customers that they could carry high and heavy loads. It was a company that was best known for carrying cars around the world, deep sea transocean shipping company. But I mean, the money they made was in project cargoes, but that was little understood by many of our project cargo customers. So we actually produced some quite cheaply YouTube videos that we used to target to definitive customers of ours, train manufacturers, crane, construction, agricultural equipment manufacturers, that sort of thing. And that worked very successful. And sales teams would have these videos on their laptops, and they, as I say, they were very short, very pithy, made to a high standard, and they worked, backed up with printed matter too. So that sort of thing works.
But
very
that's
well.
an advertising strategy.
Yeah.
Well, no, that was those were actually put together by PR teams.
Yeah, but it's still getting your message out there. If you want to find out, for example, the number of high and heavy volumes that are moved around the world, for 2010, are you going to find that on YouTube or Twitter or
no?
Facebook?
But I'm talking about campaigns that are actually directed to specific target sector customers. We put them on YouTube, and it was surprising. I mean, many of our board of directors thought this was a complete and utter waste of time, but in fact, we had some extremely good pickup and won some reasonably substantial contracts. Project cargo contracts. I remember one of shipping trains from Japan into Europe. That was a significant contract that came from someone seeing one of these YouTube videos. So it does work, but I think you need to target the information.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's an element that's an element of it. But I'm sorry, you silly telling them that Siemens or somebody are going to how influenced that they're hungry for information about their logistics solutions. I know that because these are the companies that we provide information for. Of course, I'm not saying that advertising is always important and branding and so on and so forth. We're out there, we're in the market. But if a logistics department has to audit its options in terms of what are our potential solutions for this problem, they're going to need other types of information, and then they're going to need a whole pile of other types of information as well, aren't they?
Kitty, is there, and you'd know more about this than I, the other situation where you actually improve the quality of your editorial because you guys are all talking to us in a way that you weren't before. We're not just waiting for a press release. We're having a LinkedIn discussion or we're tweeting or whatever it is we do. I mean, shouldn't that lead to improved editorial, better coal-face stories?
Beyond a shadow of a doubt. At IFW, I don't know if I'm sure you're all familiar with the title, we underwent a fundamental transformation about 12 months ago. From being a printed weekly newspaper, we took the step to committing ourselves to becoming a daily online interactive news service. And part of that shift was the demystifying the editorial process. Rather than us having a group of journalists working at IFW Towers in London, producing these great stories, we opened the doors of communication with our readers and we asked them, what are you interested in? What's on your agenda? And we went a step beyond simply asking the question. We said, why don't you write about it? I'm sure everybody here has a product manufactured by Apple. Everybody here is familiar with the Apple idea of opening the doors to developers so that developers can produce a product that pushes your brand. And we've taken that idea and we've applied it to a publication, to IFW. Rather than us producing the stories that we push out, we ask our readers, what are you interested in? What's on your agenda today? And do you want to write about it? A year ago, about 10% of our editorial output was produced by our readers. Flash forward 12 months and about 70% of our features are now written by you guys. We talk to our readers on a daily basis. We initiate discussions through LinkedIn, through Twitter, through Facebook. And then once we've got the discussions going or we can see the discussions developing, we then ask our readers, do you want to write about it? Which means that our stories are not just timely, but they're relevant because they're written by the people at the heart of the industry. And those of course, are our readers.
Whether we like it or not, people are finding jobs by posting themselves on LinkedIn or by posting the job on LinkedIn. It's already happened. It's almost redundant to discuss whether it is or should we. It's happening. The question is, what are we going to do about it, and how is it going to be of benefit to us or not a benefit to us? If we choose to ignore it, it's at our own peril. I really believe that. I
think there's situations I can imagine in crisis communications where Twitter would be extremely useful. I know that students of mine use it to get jobs. I know they've got jobs in Australia, the Americas, through Twitter. Or they've followed someone, a CEO of a company, who they want to join, and they followed his Twitter search, and it's quite interesting how many employers have come to us saying, I've interviewed that student, that graduate of yours, because they were interested in me and my company, and they were interested in me and my company through LinkedIn, Facebook, or Twitter.